Basics. This is Joe here, and this is our sixth video in the series on the channel, where we learn about one of the most uh, rising programming languages used for app development, Flutter. Now, I know that there's been a huge gap in the series, and I'm sorry about that, but I will try my best to have scheduled launches. But anyways, as I said in our last video, where we discussed what all these files are for, in today's video, we're going to dive into the main.dart file, and we're just going to look into the app that we have. And not only that, but we're also going to launch our first app. Now, before we get into that, what I want to do is I just want to show you guys a new extension that I've added. You don't have to add it, but it just goes along cooler with your current existing ones. But where is it? So the extension I have right now, which is over here, yeah, this is called Material Icon Theme, and it's just a really cool extension that you can use to make your icons look better. For example, it gives you, for every file, it analyzes your file name or folder name, and it gives an icon based on that. It just makes your build look cooler. For example, over here, per se, I wanted to do Python, right? So if I were to make a file named Python, so as you can see, this is based on letters, so A, B, C, D, P, so it should be somewhere over here. Yeah, as you can see, it gives you a Python logo or a pub logo, or I bet they have a Flutter logo somewhere here. Okay, never mind. They don't have a Flutter logo, but they have a lot of cool logos, and it just makes your project and your working environment look better in a way. But you don't have to do it. That's just something I did. Now, let's dive into this program, shall we? Now, before we do that, this program looks long and complicated, and the only reason for that is because of the absurd amount of commenting that this person has done. And remember, this is the default program that you have whenever you create a new Flutter project. And for now, I'm just deleting all of this comments, just so you can focus on less things and you're less overwhelmed. So let's delete that, and last but not least, well, yeah. And now this program looks a lot neater, doesn't it? Now, one thing that I like about the Flutter extension is, as you can see over here, it shows you where, so in Flutter, as you can see, these are widgets. Material app, that's a widget. Theme data, that's a widget. My homepage, that's a widget. So as you can see over here, you can create classes or objects. So before we get into all of that, let's start from the basics, right? So over here, we have an import package, flutter/material.dart. And again, this is Dart, and it's strongly based off of languages like C and JavaScript. So that's why you can see it kind of follows the syntax of C and JavaScript, as in void main or import, all of that. Now over here, we're importing package flutter/material.dart. Now, what does this package do, you may ask? Well, you have to take into account that Dart is a programming language. Although it has specifically been designed to be used with Flutter, it is still a programming language. So if you wanted to do things like, if you wanted to do something like solve a competitive programming problem or build backups, if this is a normal programming language. In order to turn this to a language where you can create apps with it, you will need to pair it up with an SDK, or a software development kit. Now, the SDK that we're using is Flutter. Flutter provides Dart with the capabilities to make these cool apps. Now, what does this flutter/material.dart do? Well, let's think about something for a second, shall we? Whenever we start a phone, in fact, let me start an emulator over here, or a simulator. Let's close up all of those windows. So, this is our emulator. Now, so let me just close up all of these windows just to make it look a bit neater. Yeah, that looks better. Now this is our simulator, or this is the phone, right? Now, all of you know that a phone screen is made out of pixels. Now, in order to make an app or a reactive app, you should have the ability to take in information on where a person is touching, on which part of the phone the person is touching, and then you should calculate what pixels that person is touching. And then based on what pixels that person is touching, you have to change some other pixels in order to make your app react. Now that sounds complicated, right? Because you have thousands of pixels on your phone screen. So it's really hard to manually control each and every pixel just to do something like make a button feel like it clicked, right? Or I don't know, whenever you're even typing text, you have to change the pixels on the screen to make it look like you're typing instead of you're just clicking on random stuff. Now again, you can individually code your own pixels. I mean, you can, but that's just too time taking and inefficient. Now, something else you can do is you can pair up your programming language knowledges with an SDK or a software development kit called Flutter. Now, Flutter does all the hard stuff for you in a way. It manages all the pixels, it changes all the pixels, it calculates where a person is touching a pixel, and it does all of those stuff. So it checks if person is pressing a button, and if so, and you want something like the color of the button to change, it's gonna change every pixel in that button to that new color. It's gonna do that for you. All you have to specify is what color you want to change it to and what happens if you click it. So essentially, this is basically a compiler. It's not a compiler, but if you want to think about it as a compiler, that would be fine. It takes your high level code, aka Dart, and it turns it into something your phone can understand, aka pixel configuration. Now this is our emulator, and we'll be working with this emulator for the most part. Now what we're going to do next is, first of all, I am going to close Xcode because it is bugging me. But as you can see, Xcode. Now that we have a clear screen, I'm sorry about that. Let's run our program. Why? Because I want you guys to analyze what this program is doing with your basic knowledge, because you can see some stuff like colors.blue, that's a color, or title, ooh, that's a title, or maybe over here you have text. Maybe you can infer what a text widget does. So what I want us to do is I want us to analyze what each piece of code, or most of, the broader pieces of code in this main code is doing to the app with our bare knowledge of, common sense in a way. But yeah, you're not expected to know anything about Dart, Flutter, or any programming languages at all. This is just for better understanding. So remember, if you want to run a Flutter project, oh, what happened? If you want to run a Flutter project, you'll have to go to your terminal or command prompt, depending on your machine, cd into your file folder, and then simply hit Flutter run. And then the program will run it for you. And when it starts out, or whenever you're normally doing Flutter run, you will be launching in debug mode. And debug mode is slightly slower than launching it in normal mode, and it will give you a banner on the top left corner saying debug mode. But don't worry, you can easily turn it out into a normal release mode or runtime mode. But for now, we're just gonna go with debug mode, and maybe later we can look into what these release mode and different types of modes are. So as you can see, this program, I think, yeah, it will run on our iPhone 13 emulator. And as I said, I will be switching between a Windows and Mac machine throughout this course, so you know how this is compatible for both Windows and Mac. So while Flutter compiles the program and launches it into our emulator, let's do something else. Let's just go through all of the parts of this program, shall we? Now, Dart is an object-based program. So if you want to create a widget, you'll have to create an object or a class, and then you'll have to extend that class with either a stateless or stateful widget, and I'll tell you what those are later. But you'll have to extend that with a stateless or stateful widget in order to, tell Dart, hey, this is not a normal class, this is a widget. Now, as you can see, we have a void main, and what void main basically is in many programs, you will create a function called void main, and inside void main, whatever code you have inside void main will be the first piece of code that will run when you start the program. So if I wanted for this widget to show up, I would have to call it in void main. Again, we'll discuss this in a future video where we will learn the basics about Dart. And I have a lot of videos about what these programming languages are, so if you want to learn about those, feel free to check those out. But as you can see over here, we're doing something called run app. And then you actually don't need that or that. That's just for something later. You don't have to worry about that right now. But as you can see, we're saying run app and we're passing over this widget. And then in this widget, you can see that we have something called widget build, and we're returning material app. The title is Flutter demo, and we're saying that the theme data or the primary swatch is colors.blue. So maybe we can infer that the primary color or the main color is blue. And then over here, you can see we have homepage const homepage, title Flutter demo homepage, and as you can see, this is our homepage. And then over here, you can see again, we're diving deeper into my homepage state, and then we have a variable called counter, and there's this character in front of the variable. Maybe we'll look into what that does. And then over here, we're using stuff like set state. Don't worry about that. But now if we go into the main widget, which is scaffold, and we'll talk about what that is, you can see we have this thing called app bar. Maybe some of you, if you know something about apps, you might recognize that this is the top thing on your app. And then inside that, we have a title. And if you look at it, this widget.title is basically referring back to this variable over here. And I'll tell you how that works too. That's for another video. But as you can see over here, you have text called, you have pushed the button this many times. So as you can see, our app has loaded. So why don't we go and look into our app? Wow, that's a beautiful app. As you can see, yeah, the text is great. It integrates nicely into our iPhone, I guess. And now, as you can see, our primary color over here is a blue, right? As we inferred over here, our primary color is blue. Yeah. Now, let's experiment around. And I would encourage you guys to do this. Let's just say pink, right? And as you can see over here, it changes to pink. That depends on your text editor. Now, you'll notice that nothing has changed. It's still blue. Now, the reason for this is, number one, make sure that when you go into VS Code, go to File, and make sure that autosave is enabled so your program saves automatically. Now, whenever you make a change to your UI in a Flutter app, if you want that change to, convey or transfer into your app, you'll have to do something called hot reload. Hot reload is basically when your Flutter app basically, okay, so we have an error over here. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's nothing. You guys don't have to worry about that. That's something with my laptop. But a hot reload is when basically your Flutter analyzes your code, current code, and previous code and checks what's different, and it makes those changes to your app. This is something unique to Flutter, and it's the main thing that's good about Flutter. So to hot reload in your command panel, you simply press R. Okay. Honestly, I think the reason this is happening is because we took out this. So let's not do that. Yeah, I know why, but I'm not going to explain it right now because that's going to get too complicated in a way. And I don't want to confuse anyone. But still no change. And again, that's because it's still blue. But now if we hot reload again, voila, we have a pink accent. How cool is that? Now, do you see over here how it says Flutter demo homepage? Have we seen that text before? Yes. Do you see over here in my homepage, we're passing in in something called title, and as you can see, my homepage takes in a variable called title, and it passes down that variable to this text in the app bar title over here. So per se, I just turn this into hi or hello world, and we hot reload again. Do you see how over here it says hello world? So we know that this text is basically whatever is going to go up here. How about this text over here? Have we seen this text over here? Yes, over here, right? And do you see how maybe this is a column, and over here it says main axis alignment is center. Now what you can do about Flutter is you actually get recommendations on all the options that you have, so you can play around with that. So if we set space around, you'll see something different happens. Do you see how these are equally distanced? So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to just basically play around with all of these widgets and all of this code on your basic Flutter app. In our next video, we'll dive deep into what Dart is and how we can work with Dart. But for now, I just want you guys to play around with this Flutter program, right? And yeah, it's okay to get your hands dirty, especially because this is just a sample program. For example, and again, if you do something wrong, like if I did this and I have an error, simply Command Z and you'll get back to where you started last. But yeah, please do just play around with this button. For example, over here we have icons.add, right? So if I press over here, I have a bunch of icons. Now, how about this AC unit? How about I put that icon instead of add? Do you see how over here there's a chili, like there's a snowflake, I'm sorry. And then you can see whenever I click that snowflake, this increments by 1. Now, where is there anywhere that says plus equal to 1? Over here, you can see it says counter equal to 0 and counter plus equal to 1. So we can assume that whatever, this number over here is basically the value in this variable. So what if we said counter equal to underscore counter plus 1, right? And again, you have to add a semicolon at the end. It always gets me. As you can see, that still adds by 2. Oh yeah, let's do counter plus 2, not counter plus 1, because that's the same thing. Now if I do it, you'll see it goes 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, so on and so forth. So just please play around and be creative with this. Try to make your app as personal or unique as you can. And then whenever you're done with that, go ahead and check the next video. But just play around and get your hands dirty in this main.dart file. And in our next video, we'll talk more about widgets and how these widgets work and what objects are. And maybe if we have time, we'll get into Dart. But again, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys liked this video. And again, I'll try my best to make these, to drop out these Flutter videos at least once a week. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And yeah, if you have any questions or suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. All useful links and tips will be down in the comment section as well. That's all for this video. See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.